For $2, she discovered her millionaire boyfriend was the man she'd hidden from her heart. Sarah had always thought her life was all about sacrifice. It was as if the universe had spun her in a loop of work shifts and homework, all to keep her two younger siblings afloat after their father's sudden passing. Each day was a whirl of coffee cups, greasy plates, and customers at the diner who shared stories of their lives over pie. But deep down, beneath the smiles she wore like armor, a restless longing churned. Something was missing, and she desperately wanted to feel alive again. Then it happened. A suggestion floated in the air like a gust of fresh wind. "Hey, Sarah. You should totally buy a ticket for that charity auction. Just $2 for a random date." Her friend's laughter rang in her ears. What could it hurt? On a whimsical impulse, she handed over $2, the crumpled bill a thrilling promise of possibilities. As the evening of the auction approached, her heart danced with a curiosity she hadn't felt in ages. When the announcement came that she'd won the date, disbelief turned into excitement. Her heart raced as she walked into the room, and there, amidst a crowd of faces, stood Jack. With his warm smile and genuine laughter, he felt like a bright light piercing through her mundane routine. They talked for hours, sharing stories that wove their lives together in a beautiful tapestry of dreams and vulnerabilities. Under the stars, laughter echoed like music, pulling her out of the shadows of her responsibilities. Yet, amidst the sparks, doubt nagged at her. Jack was charming, yes, but his past felt like a riddle, pieces missing. Whenever she pried gently, he would expertly change the topic, deflecting her curiosity like a seasoned magician. Her heart fluttered, both excited and haunted by whispers of uncertainty. Then it slipped from her lips. A confession from a friend revealed the truth. Jack was not just a quirky guy trying to make ends meet, he was a millionaire investor. The news ripped through her like a cold wave of doubt, stinging her pride. Could her working-class life truly blend with the allure of his world? Whispers swirled around town, filled with jealousy and skepticism, as if her feelings for him were tainted by the weight of status, a heavy burden she never wanted to bear. Before she could process it all, a storm hit Maplewood, uprooting lives and bringing chaos. In the midst of the destruction, Jack emerged as a beacon of hope, leading efforts to help the community rebuild. Seeing him rally around the town ignited a flicker of admiration within her, illuminating a side of him she hadn't seen. This was not just a man of money, but one of compassion, ready to lift others in their darkest moments. Caught in a whirlwind of emotions, Sarah felt her heart tugging her in two directions. Part of her wanted to run away from the overwhelming feelings. Was love worth enduring the judgment of their dissimilar backgrounds? But standing on the cusp of an emotional precipice, she suddenly found herself grappling with profound questions. Does love define us, or is it the stories we come from that shape our worth? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as she opened her mouth to confront Jack, a letter slid through her mailbox. Curiosity piqued, she pulled it out, a letter laden with a truth about her father, one that intertwined their fates in unimaginable ways. The words danced before her eyes, leaving her heart racing and her mind spiraling. What had she stumbled into? The decision of a lifetime loomed ahead, and Sarah felt the weight of her world shift yet again. As Sarah stared at the letter, each word echoed in her mind like a terrifying drumbeat. "My dearest Sarah," it began, inviting her into the memories of a man she thought she knew. Thoughts raced, drowning her senses. The room faded as the reality of her father's words sliced through the veil of her everyday life. What could this revelation mean? She bit her lip, settling on the edge of the couch, the letter trembling in her hands. Her father had written of secrets, layers of truth she hadn't wanted to uncover. Her fingers traced the letters like a blind person learning to read Braille, desperate for understanding. "Your mother and I had a love," it said. "But I must tell you about a man named Jonathan." A name, a glimpse into the past that felt foreign but also hauntingly familiar. It puzzled her, pulling at strings of her childhood memories. Had her father been more than just a struggling parent? The letter continued to unravel tales of wealth hidden behind simple lives, intertwined with love and loss. Somewhere beyond her shock, her mind wandered to Jack. The way he looked at her created warmth in the cold chaos around them. Could he know this side of her father? Could it really be connected to what they were building together? A sense of urgency gripped her. She was on a knife edge of revelation and uncertainty. The following morning, Sarah found herself pacing the kitchen, replaying snippets of the letter. Every now and then, she glanced out the window, hoping for Jack's arrival. She needed him. Their burgeoning relationship flickered like a candle against the wind, and she was terrified it might extinguish once the truth was revealed. The words, "You cannot run from your past," bounced in her head. This wasn't just about her anymore, it entangled them both. When Jack finally knocked on her door, she almost felt her heart leap into her throat. There was an unspoken question that lingered in the air between them. His bright smile illuminated the dimness she felt inside, and for a fleeting moment, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, they could tackle whatever lay ahead together. "Hey, how's it going?" Jack asked, leaning casually against the frame, his presence a comforting balm. She hesitated. The fear of the unknown curled within her chest, but she mustered a steady breath. "We need to talk, Jack." His brow furrowed, concern tightening his features. "Yeah? What's on your mind?" As she stared into his eyes, she found strength in the bond they had formed. Was it worth the fall? She couldn't lie to him, not anymore. "It's about my father and you." He stepped inside, closing the door softly behind him. The moment felt monumental, heavy with secrets yet to unravel, and the air thickened between them. "Sarah," he said slowly, face shadowed with both trepidation and care. "Whatever it is, I'm here." Every inch of her trembled. Time slowed as the weight of her next words descended upon her. Did she have the courage to reveal all? But before she could speak, her phone buzzed relentlessly, pulling her attention away. It was a message from a number she didn't recognize. Frowning, she glanced at the screen. It read, "I know everything about you and Jack. Meet me at the old oak tree tomorrow at noon or else." Fear washed over her, drowning out all thoughts of courage. What more had she unwittingly stepped into? Sarah's heart raced at the cryptic message. She turned toward Jack, uncertainty flooding back. How deep did his connection with her family run? The moment hung between them, filled with possibilities and dread. She looked at him, a blend of determination and fear etched onto her face. Whatever the challenge, she had to fight for the truth even if it threatened everything she had come to cherish. And with that realization, she knew the battle was only just beginning. The questions loomed larger than ever. Could love survive the revelations that awaited them? Would their hearts withstand the storm? Tomorrow would bring answers she feared but desperately needed. The morning light filtered through the kitchen window, casting shadows that danced around Sarah's feet. She felt queasy, caught between the weight of her father's letter and the mystery awaiting her at the old oak tree. Each tick of the clock felt like it reverberated through her body, increasing the urgency that clawed at her insides. Should she tell Jack the truth about her father? Or should she keep the growing storms at bay? Jack, sensing her turmoil, reached out, squeezing her hand gently. "You okay?" There was concern in his eyes, a tangle of emotions that mirrored her own. She searched his gaze, wanting to believe that they could face whatever came next together. But her mind was a storm, dark clouds swirling with doubt. "I got a message," she finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "From someone I don't know." "A message?" His expression shifted, worry etching deeper lines on his forehead. She hesitated, deciding how much to share. It said they know everything about us and it wants me to meet them. Jack's grip tightened, his fingers brushing against her skin like a lifeline. When? Tomorrow at noon, she replied, the truth sitting heavy in her chest. At the old oak tree. He looked thoughtful, weighing their options. We need to go together. No, she said quickly, pulling her hand away. You can't. I have to go alone. I can't put you in danger. Jack frowned, a mix of frustration and concern. Sarah, I want to just sit back and let you face this alone. That's not how this works. It's just it has to be me, she said, shaking her head. If there's something about my father, I need to understand it on my own. I don't want to drag you into my family's mess. For a moment, silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Then Jack took a step closer, grounding her with his presence. Tell me what you're afraid of. She felt her heart catch. The truth was a raw thing, jagged and ugly. What if this whole thing destroys everything we've built? What if I find out my father was someone I never knew? What if Sarah, he interrupted, his voice firm yet soft. Whatever you find out, it doesn't change who you are. We're still us. His words sparked a flicker of warmth in her, but the shadows persisted. But what if I discover more than I bargained for? Jack stepped closer again, his forehead nearly touching hers. You have to trust me when I say, I'm not going anywhere. This is just an obstacle. We deal with it together. That's what love is. Sarah's breath hitched at the word love. It felt like both a comfort and an anchor. Just a few days ago, she had been lost, her life in disarray. Now, she was on the brink of uncovering secrets that could alter everything she thought she knew. You really mean that? She asked, her voice trembling. Absolutely, he replied, his eyes steady and sincere. No secrets can change how I feel about you. But as she gazed into his eyes, a new fear took root. What if the truth was heavier than either of them could bear? Fine, she relented, but you have to promise me something. If things get too intense, you walk away. I don't want you to get hurt. Jack's expression softened, yet the determination in his eyes burned bright. I'm in this, Sarah. No backing down. For the first time, she felt a sense of clarity amidst the chaos. They had to confront what awaited them, even if it felt daunting. Even if it meant facing the ghosts of her past. As they prepared for tomorrow, the tension remained a thick fog around them. Sarah took a deep breath, acknowledging that destiny was drawing them into its storm. Are you ready? Jack asked, breaking the silence. She nodded, though her stomach churned. Ready as I'll ever be. But as the day wore on, uncertainty gnawed at her. What truth would they discover beneath the branches of the old oak? What could tear them apart? The clock was ticking and the answers were just beyond the horizon. The real question remained, could they withstand what tomorrow would bring? As Sarah lay awake that night, shadows danced in the corners of her room, twisting and turning into the shape of her fears. She tossed and turned, unable to find comfort. Her father's letter was crumpled under her pillow, a weight she couldn't ignore. The old oak tree loomed in her mind, its gnarled branches like fingers stretching into the darkness, beckoning her closer. Jack, asleep beside her, seemed at peace. His regular breathing was a reminder of their normalcy, but her world felt anything but normal. She wanted to hold on to that peace, yet a tide of anxiety pulled at her. What if her father truly was someone she never knew? What if he had left her something dark and twisted, something that would forever change the way she saw her family? At some point, she mustered enough courage to slip out of bed. She crept into the kitchen, where the faint sound of the wind outside seemed to whisper secrets. The moonlight wrapped around her like a soft blanket, but inside her, there was a storm brewing. She poured herself a glass of water, the coolness offering a fleeting distraction. Suddenly, her phone buzzed on the table, shattering the silence. Heart pounding, she grabbed it, half expecting another message from the unknown sender. Instead, it was a text from her best friend, Mia. Thinking of you. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Sarah smiled faintly but quickly felt guilty for the joy it brought. Mia didn't know the storm Sarah was embroiled in. Glancing at the time, she realized it was already late. Tomorrow would come too soon. In her heart, she wanted to believe that whatever awaited her could be faced with love and support from Jack. But she couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was wrapped in barbed wire, waiting to cut her open. The next morning arrived like a thief in the night. The sun rose with a brilliance that starkly contrasted with her tumultuous thoughts. She and Jack moved through the morning routine in a quiet dance, an unspoken understanding hanging between them. The air was thick with apprehension. "Are you ready?" Jack asked, his eyes searching hers as they stood in front of the door. "In a way," she responded, her voice shaky. Instead of waiting for a reply, Jack reached out, gently tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Hey, whatever it is, we'll figure it out." He smiled, but Sarah could see the worry beneath the surface. As they drove to the old oak tree, the landscape blurred by, their conversation limited to the sound of the radio crackling softly in the background. Each passing minute felt heavier than the last. Sarah's heart raced when they parked just a few yards away from the tree. It towered above them, ancient and wise, as if it had seen generations and all their secrets. "Do you want me to walk with you?" Jack offered, his brow furrowed. "No," she said, more fiercely than she intended. "You should wait here." The protective side of her surged. She didn't want Jack to witness whatever pain was destined to unfold. "Okay," he said quietly, disappointment creeping into his tone. He took her hands, squeezing them reassuringly. "Just be careful." Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped out of the car, her heart in her throat as she approached the oak. The sun filtered through its leaves, creating playful patches of light on the ground, but the beauty felt surreal in the moment. She reached the trunk and closed her eyes, the memories flooding back, her father standing beneath this very tree, laughing and carefree. Would she find the same carefree spirit today or something darker? Just then, a rustle in the bushes startled her. A figure emerged, and her heart pounded as she squinted into the shadowy light. "Sarah," the voice called, familiar yet tinged with something she couldn't place. "What are you doing here?" She gasped, confusion seeping in. The truth awaited her now. As she stood there, breathing heavily, she realized that the hourglass was running out of sand. Was she ready for the unexpected? The answer was uncertain, but her heart whispered that tomorrow held secrets worth uncovering. "Sarah." The voice floated through the air like a familiar melody, yet it was warped, twisted by the shadows of doubt. Standing before her was her estranged brother, Caleb. He looked different, older, and shadows mirrored the uncertainty on his face. Caleb? The name slipped from her lips in disbelief. She hadn't seen him in years. The silence between them was like an unspoken storm, thick and heavy. "It's been a while," he said, stepping closer but still leaving space between them, as if he didn't want to intrude on her turbulent emotions. "Why are you here?" Her heart raced, each beat echoing the chaos swirling inside her. Memories flooded back, shared laughter, bitter arguments, and the day they went their separate ways after their father's departure. Sarah had clung to hope that Caleb would return, even after everything had fallen apart. "I came to see you," he confessed, his voice softer now, cracking under the weight of his own turmoil. "I got your letter. Well, the letter you found. Dad, he's not who we thought he was, Sarah." His words struck her like thunder, resonating deep within her chest. This was the conversation she had dreaded. "What do you mean?" Caleb glanced up into the emerald canopy of the oak tree, as if seeking guidance from its ancient wisdom. "There are things you don't know, things Mom kept hidden. Things that could change everything." "About Dad?" Sarah felt her voice tremble, a mixture of fear and curiosity. "Yes. His eyes locked onto hers, fierce and unyielding. We never had closure. I came to find answers for both of us. To understand the truth. The air around them thickened. And you think you'll find that here? Under this tree? I have to believe we can, he replied, determination edging his voice. But we need to face it together, like we should have all those years ago. A part of Sarah wanted to back away, to flee from the unfolding revelation. The other part, the one that still yearned for family, pushed her to listen. What do you know? Honestly, I don't have all the details, Caleb admitted. But Mom mentioned a name before she passed, a name connected to the past we tried to forget. What name? She pressed, her heart racing. Every passing second felt drawn out, like a taut thread about to snap. Ryder. It might lead us to answers about Dad or something darker. He took a step closer, his voice dropping to a whisper, raw with emotion. I know it sounds crazy, but my gut tells me we were meant to uncover this together. Fear and inquisitiveness waged war inside Sarah. Her father the monster? Or was it all an illusion, crafted by grief and misunderstanding? She hesitated, caught in the turmoil of choice. What if it leads to pain? Sarah whispered, barely able to breathe. The shadows held darkness she wasn't prepared for. Then we face it. Together, Caleb promised, holding her gaze tightly. In that moment, the weight of their fractured history seemed to lift ever so slightly. Could she really trust him, trust the unknown they were about to dive into? The oak tree loomed above them, a silent witness to their rekindled connection amidst the approaching storm of truth. Tomorrow might hold revelations, but today held the spark of something she once thought lost hope. As they stood side by side, Sarah felt a flicker of courage begin to blossom inside her. Okay. We'll do this. With a nod, Caleb turned slightly, gesturing to her to lead the way. Let us start digging. We need to know what we're up against. Just then, the wind rustled through the oak's branches, a whisper of warnings and wild possibilities. Did she truly have the strength to unearth the truths entangled in her family's history? As she took a step forward, doubt lingered at the edge of her heart. The past was calling, and it might just shatter everything she thought she knew. Would tomorrow bring clarity, or only a deeper chasm of uncertainty? Sarah took a deep breath, her chest tightening as she confronted the old, familiar feelings creeping back. She was stepping into unknown territory, where emotions twisted like the branches of the oak tree overhead. With every shuffling step, every glance at Caleb, memories surged to the surface, his laughter echoing in her mind, the feel of his presence by her side as they faced their childhood together. What if it's all true? She finally whispered, her voice trembling with unease. She gripped her jacket tighter around herself, seeking comfort in the fabric as it felt like an old shield against the outside world. I don't know, Caleb replied earnestly, his brow furrowed. But if there's even a chance, don't you want to know the truth? Even if it hurts? She considered his question, glancing down at the ground, trying to weigh her choices. Was it better to let the past remain buried, or to risk opening old wounds in search of clarity? I wish things had been different. It's so hard to look at you right now without feeling everything, the hurt and the anger. I know, Caleb replied softly. But we can't change the past. We can only decide what we do with the present. And if we find out that Dad is truly someone we never knew, at least we can face it together. His words hung in the air. Together. That concept felt almost foreign, but somewhere deep within her flickered a light that sparkled with hope. She wanted to trust him again, she wanted to believe that they could heal. Okay, she said, feeling a warmth rushing through her as she lifted her gaze to meet his. Let us figure this out. Where do we even start? Caleb glanced around, taking in their surroundings as if the very land itself might spill the secrets they sought. I think we should visit Mom's old things, her journals, photos, anything we can find that relates to Ryder. I might have some clues. His determination reignited something in her, a desire to dig deeper and uncover the pieces of their lives that had been lost in misunderstanding. "Let us do it then," she said, veering toward the nearby path that led to their childhood home. Anxiety ignited her nerves, but so did an electric anticipation. As they walked, the woods vibrated around them, a mix of whispering trees and distant bird calls. With every step closer to home, a blend of excitement and fear coursed through Sarah. What if we find that he was involved in something terrible? Then we deal with it, Caleb responded. We've faced the worst before, right? This can't be worse than losing Mom. They reached the familiar old porch, the paint chipped and fading, yet still exuding warmth as sunlight poured down, illuminating shadows of the past. A twinge of nostalgia tugged at Sarah's heart, almost pulling her back into the folds of childhood comfort. "Inside, there may be something," Caleb whispered, glancing down at her. "Ready?" Sarah nodded, her heart racing as they stepped through the doorway. Dust motes danced in the light streaming through the windows, a veil over the memories waiting to be uncovered. The house felt alive, like a heartbeat pulsing beneath the quiet facade. "Let us start in her room," she suggested, leading the way. Each step echoed with hesitation, but she pressed forward, the pull of the truth drawing her in. As they rummaged through boxes filled with relics of their past, Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. There, among the stacks, lay an old photo album with a worn leather cover. She picked it up, her fingers trembling slightly. "What's that?" Caleb leaned closer, curiosity etched on his face. Taking a deep breath, Sarah slowly opened the album. Pages turned, revealing memories sewn together with laughter until they hit a page she never saw before. There was a picture of their father with a woman who was not their mother. Shock rushed through her bloodstream like ice water. Who is this?" Caleb's eyes widened, and an unspoken fear passed between them. "I don't know." The next moment turned still. Something deeper than tension surged in the room, marking the air with a sense of urgency and hidden emotions. What secrets lay ahead, tangled in their family's history? As they exchanged glances filled with dread and wonder, a question lingered: what other truths were waiting to be uncovered in this labyrinth of their lineage? The weight of the moment pressed down on Sarah like the heavy air before a storm. She felt the temperature drop slightly, a chill running down her spine. What lay ahead was uncertain, darkened by the shadows of what they might find. She stared at the photo, her heart racing in an erratic rhythm. The woman smiled brightly at the camera, her eyes full of life, contrasting starkly with the knot tightening in Sarah's stomach. "What if Dad had a whole life we never knew about?" Caleb whispered, breaking the silence that enveloped them. The thought struck Sarah hard. So many years had passed, but the questions felt like new cuts on her heart. "Maybe we don't know him at all." Each word carried the weight of her realization. They had built a narrative around their father, the good, the bad, the absent, but none of it felt real now. Caleb reached over, brushing his fingers against the photo. "I never imagined." His voice trailed off, leaving an echo of all the unsaid words hanging in the air. "Why would Mom keep this hidden?" Sarah pondered aloud. If she had known, if she had seen this woman, how would her childhood have shifted? It felt like a layer of paint peeling away to reveal the unsettling truth beneath. Caleb pulled away suddenly, pacing the room on shaky legs. "This changes everything." With each step, Sarah could feel a wave of emotions surge. Confusion, anger, heartbreak, they all collided within her. Should she shake Caleb back to reality? Could they even confront this together, or would it inevitably tear them apart again? "Caleb, let us keep looking." She could hardly recognize the steadiness in her own voice. "There must be more here. More pieces to the puzzle." He nodded, though his face was a canvas of murky emotions. They resumed their search, sifting through childhood memories that were now tinged with uncertainty. As they dug deeper, Sarah's hand stumbled upon a dusty, unmarked envelope wedged between two old books. Her pulse quickened as she pulled it free, a stubborn amount of dust rising and swirling in the light. "What's that?" Caleb asked, peering over. An envelope. She hesitated, a gnawing sense of hesitation curling in her stomach. Something deep inside her shouted that this could lead to answers she wasn't prepared to handle. Open it, Caleb urged softly, his eyes intent on the object that seemed so insignificant yet held their future in its grip. With shaky fingers, Sarah tore it open. Inside, cards and letters spilled out, yellowed with age. Every piece felt like a piece of a larger betrayal. But as she flipped through each one, her heart dropped again. These were love letters. Passionate words penned to her father, from the woman in the photograph, a woman she had never known existed in their lives. The realization struck like lightning. Caleb, this is love letters. They're from her. He took a step back, eyes widening as he processed the weight of her words. I can't believe it. Did she love him? Was he in love with her? Confusion laced Caleb's question. The mix of emotions was palpable. Maybe there's more here. There must be something to explain. Each sentence felt like undoing a part of her childhood. They were staring hard at the reality of their father, a man living in bifurcated worlds. Caleb was already rummaging through the rest of the letters. Did they meet in secret? How could Mom let this happen? Wouldn't she have fought for us? Each question stung, raising a tempest of emotions that threatened to drown them. Wait, Sarah's breath caught as she flipped through the letters. One letter was dated right before their mother's passing. It felt like fate. This one, it's different. It could give us clarity. Read it, Caleb said urgently. They huddled closer, heartbeats synchronizing in shared anticipation. As Sarah unfolded the letter, something else flickered at the edge of her mind, an uneasy feeling that whatever they found next might change everything once more. What awaited them was still unknown, hidden beneath the layers of grief and confusion. Lights illuminated memories she hadn't thought to question. With a deep breath, she started to read, and the atmosphere shifted, thickening like fog over a dark lake. The truth pressed closer, and she felt ill-equipped to confront it. Little did they know, the very next line might fracture the last fragile pieces of their childhood. Their family tree had deep roots, but now it felt like those roots were twisted, tangled, and ready to unravel everything they thought they knew. The letter crackled softly in Sarah's hands, the paper frail and delicate with age. She took a deep breath, the air heavy with anticipation and dread. Her eyes flickered across the familiar handwriting, and it felt like each stroke of the pen was pulling them deeper into a history that was never meant to surface. Dearest Emily, she read aloud, the name ringing strangely in her ears. It was a name they had not expected to hear, nor one that felt right to say. With each word, she felt like she was trespassing on a sacred conversation, an intimacy that should have belonged to someone else. Though the world tries to keep us apart, my heart only knows you. The words flowed like a current, pulling her thoughts into a whirlpool of new realities. The warmth of affection spilled from the page, but it was tinged with a sorrow that felt suffocating. Caleb's brow furrowed, his gaze flitting between Sarah and the paper. What does it say? He urged, his voice a whisper barely audible against the thick silence. It was as though their home had transformed into a shrine of secrets, ancient and heavy. They loved each other. Sarah stumbled over the words, each one like a stone dropped into a still pond, creating ripples of change. It's like Dad was living two lives. One with Mom and one with her. And they felt so real. Do you think Mom knew? The question hung in the air, heavier than the previous ones. Caleb's voice cracked, revealing the pain beneath his composed exterior. She hesitated, the answer clawing at her throat. What if their mother had known? What if all those memories wrapped in warmth and security were built on such a fragile foundation? Sarah cleared her throat, pressing on. She wrote about wanting to be with him, but it was more complicated than that. A knot formed in her stomach. No longer was their father simply a man who had gone away, he was a man who had loved deeply and possibly betrayed just as much. As she continued reading, she felt the room pulse with their mother's lost life. I can't bear the thought of you with someone else, but I understand the risks we take for love." Each line deepened the shadows lurking around them, settling uncomfortably in their minds. Why did she never mention her? Caleb's voice nearly broke. It was a question that pierced through their shared silence, laying bare the rawness of their discoveries. "I don't know," Sarah replied softly, her eyes wells of unshed tears. Maybe she felt ashamed or scared. Maybe all of this scared her. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. She had never seen their mother's life as anything other than a shield protecting them from pain. But this? This shattered everything. With trembling fingers, Sarah reached for another letter, skimming past the lingering sentiments to a particular passage that caught her attention. It was marked with a single, hasty line scribbled in the margin: "Please don't forget our dream." A chill danced down her spine, twisting her heart. "Caleb, there's something here. It feels important," she said, fought against the sensation of nausea rising in her throat. The implications were too much to bear. Their mother had shared dreams with this woman's love, dreams of family, of what could have been. "I want to know more. I need to know." Caleb was standing now, urgency painting his face as he leaned closer. "Then we keep pressing on," Sarah said, wiping away her tears. She straightened, determination clawing up her spine. This was the moment to confront their truths, their lineage. "Let us see if there are more letters. More details." But as they reached for the remaining contents in the envelope, something slipped from their grasp, a small, silver key. It clinked softly against the floor, punctuating the silence like a thunderous drum. "Sarah, what do you think that opens?" Caleb asked, eyes wide. The notion of possessing such an object felt monumental, almost like a key to unlocking secrets buried deep. She bent down slowly to pick it up, her fingers brushing against its cool surface. With a racing heart, she held it up, light glinting off its polished metal. It was both thrilling and frightening. "I don't know, but I have a feeling it's tied to all of this," she admitted, her voice trembling. The weight of the key in her hand felt like a promise, one that could lead to more discoveries or more heartache. And deep down, she felt the stirring anxiety of understanding that uncovering the truth might send them spiraling even further. What lies beyond that door? What other shards of history awaited them? The thought left both of them with an icy thrill, a need to know pressing against their hearts like icy fingers. Their family secrets were hitting a boiling point. Would they find closure, or were they about to dive into a darkness they couldn't return from? The moment grew thick with tension, and Sarah felt it in her bones. The next chapter of their lives was just beginning, and everything was about to change. Sarah's fingers curled tightly around the key, her mind racing with possibilities. What door did it unlock? What history lay behind it, waiting to be uncovered? Caleb's intense gaze bore into her, mirroring her own curiosity and fear. "What do we do now?" he asked, the urgency in his tone thickening the air around them. She swallowed hard, her heart pounding against her ribs. "We find out what this key leads to. We have to." Her voice trailed off, uncertainty creeping in. But they had come this far, hadn't they? The mystery was too big to ignore. "Let us start by checking the basement. It's the oldest part of the house," and, before she could finish her thought, Caleb was already moving. The farmhouse creaked underfoot as they hurried toward the basement door. The rusty doorknob glinted under the dim light, a glossy surface reflecting their eager, yet anxious expressions. "I've always hated the basement," Caleb muttered, but Sarah could hear the edge of excitement in his voice. It was the adventure they had both been longing for, even if it ignited a storm of trepidation inside her. With a deep breath, she turned the knob. The door groaned open, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling into shadows. She hesitated, quickly glancing back at Caleb, seeking affirmation. "Together?" he asked, taking a step closer. "Together," she echoed, and they descended, the cool air wrapping around them as they ventured deeper. The absence of light intensified the stillness. Each step stirred echoes of their childhood, memories of innocence and laughter that felt achingly distant now. When they reached the bottom, a flickering bulb greeted them, casting playful shadows on the cobweb-laden walls. Boxes stacked high were filled with forgotten belongings, glimpses of lives once lived. But it was the far wall, partially obscured, that drew Sarah's attention, the shape of a small, old-fashioned chest barely peeking into view. "Caleb, look!" she breathed, pointing. His eyes followed her gesture, widening with disbelief. "Do you think it could be?" "Only one way to find out." She approached the chest, heart racing. The key felt heavier in her pocket, a promise to unlock something significant. They knelt before the chest, the wood dull and worn. With a shared glance, she produced the key, holding it up as though it were sacred. "Ready?" "More than ever," he replied, his excitement sparking her determination. With bated breath, Sarah inserted the key into the lock and turned it. A soft click echoed through the basement, a sound that reverberated in her chest. As she lifted the lid, a damp, musty scent wafted out, mingling with something more nostalgic. A jewelry box, yellowing letters, and faded photographs lay crammed inside. Caleb leaned closer, helping her sift through the treasures. Each item felt like a piece of the puzzle, but one photograph stood out, a picture of their father with another woman, arms intertwined and smiles broad, eyes sparkling with joy. "Who is she?" Caleb's voice was shaky now, disbelief and anger mixing like a tempest in his chest. I think this could be Emily," Sarah said, the shock settling heavily over them. As she studied the image, it felt like staring at a secret hidden in plain sight. "What else is in there?" Caleb asked, motioning to the letters. They carefully unfolded one, and Sarah's heart sank further as she recognized the writing. "To my dearest Emily, my heart aches with the secrets I carry." As the words unfolded, she felt an overwhelming rush of emotion, love, betrayal, and a swirling, aching confusion. Each sentence from their father's hand peeled back the layers of their family, revealing intricate emotions tangled in regret and longing. "I can't believe this," Caleb breathed, his eyes darting nervously between the letters and the photo. "This means Mom didn't just lose a partner," Sarah said, her throat tightening. "She lost a part of herself. All along, she carried this around, but why keep it secret?" Caleb shook his head, anger building. "Maybe it was a way to protect us, but from what? This doesn't make any sense." The weight of their discoveries pressed on her like a lead blanket. Could their family have functioned on such deep lies? Did their mother bury her pain beneath an unyielding facade? "I think we need to keep looking." Caleb said the words, but uncertainty lingered. "What if we dig too deep?" Sarah questioned, suddenly fearful of the truth. "Then we confront it, together." He spoke with newfound resolve. "But what if the truth only brought more pain?" They exchanged a heavy glance filled with understanding and attachment but also dread. The exploration of their roots was spiraling into territory they weren't sure they wanted to traverse. But she clutched the letters tighter, her mind racing with questions. What were their parents hiding? What led them to this moment? And why did it feel like they were being pulled into a story that was written before they were born? As they prepared to explore further, a distant noise echoed from above, a creak, a thud, and both froze. It was an unsettling reminder that they weren't alone in this house. "Did you hear that?" Caleb whispered, his voice barely a shake. "Yeah," Sarah nodded, dread creeping back in. What if someone's here?" They stood at the edge of the abyss, uncertainty surging again. Would they uncover more secrets? Or was their search for truth about to bring in adversaries from the shadows? With thumping hearts, they braced themselves for whatever else awaited them in the darkness above. The air was tense as Sarah and Caleb exchanged glances, their hearts pounding in synchronicity with the ominous sound echoing from above. Fear gripped them, yet an insatiable curiosity compelled them to push forward. They moved silently, adrenaline fueling their every step, their thoughts racing with the implications of what they might find. "Do you think someone else is here?" Caleb whispered, his voice barely audible, laced with uncertainty. The thought sent shivers down Sarah's spine, but she swallowed hard, summoning courage from somewhere deep within. "I don't know," she replied, her voice steadying. "But we can't let fear stop us now." With determination, she turned back to the chest, riffling through the treasures before them. But now the warmth of discovery felt tainted. They sifted through letters and photographs, shadows of their family's history. Each cherished memory felt skewed by the knowledge of betrayal. "Let us take the letters," Caleb said, carefully gathering them and tucking them into his jacket. "We need to analyze everything in light, find out what it really means." All the while, the creaking noises above persisted, and they exchanged another anxious glance. "What if there's someone who doesn't want us to find out the truth?" Sarah asked, panic teasing at the edges of her thoughts. "Then we'll confront them together," Caleb replied, his gaze fierce with determination. They crept towards the basement stairs, tension thickening the air around them like a stormy night. The staircase loomed ahead, but with each step, uncertainty clawed at Sarah's heart. What awaited them above? What layers of their family's past were trying to prevent them from uncovering the truth? Together, they ascended cautiously, hand in hand, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Upon reaching the top, they pushed the door open slowly and were greeted by the muted light of dusk filtering through the windows, gentle and serene, contrasting the turmoil locked inside the house. "Stay quiet," Sarah whispered, fear prickling her skin as she scanned the room. The initial calling sound had faded into the distance, but uncertainty loomed everywhere. They moved cautiously through the familiar corridors, the wooden floors creaking softly beneath their feet. Suddenly, a shadow darted past a doorway, disappearing into the darkness. "Did you see that?" Caleb's eyes widened, and before she had time to respond, he was gone, rushing towards the shadow. "Caleb! Wait!" Sarah called after him, but curiosity surged within her. There was no turning back. They had to know why their family was filled with so many secrets. She followed him into an old room, its air stagnant, a relic locked in time. Caleb stood by a desk, rummaging through old papers scattered about. "Look! More documents," he said, excitement igniting his voice, but it quickly dimmed as he read the words aloud. "Loans, debts, divorces. This doesn't look good, Sarah," he said, panic sparking in his tone. "I think we're uncovering something dangerous." Their families weren't just tangled in love, they were entwined in deceptive business, shady partnerships, and the weight of lies. They felt unmoored, and the shadows clawing at their past began to twist their perception of what family truly meant. "What if our past is more than we can handle?" Sarah questioned, her voice trembling. An unwelcome silence settled in around them, thickening like fog. "We can't turn back now, Sarah," Caleb said, his determination igniting a spark of resolve within her. They needed answers, and in the depths of uncertainty was a flicker of hope that understanding their history could lead to healing, to breaking the very cycle of hurt that had bound them. Suddenly, another sound broke through the unmistakable creak of floorboards. Both siblings froze, their breaths caught in their throats. An old, familiar figure stepped forward, and dread suddenly wrapped around Sarah's heart like icy fingers. "Caleb? Sarah?" It was their mother's voice, softer and eerily wreathed in warmth, but laden with sorrow. "What have you found?" Mom?" Caleb's voice cracked, disbelief flooding his features. Time stood still, and the abyss of questions that had swirled for years now rushed to the surface. "I didn't want you to see any of this," she whispered, sadness etched into her brow. "But the truth has a way of rising to the surface." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes, the rush of emotions felt overwhelming. Would this confrontation heal wounds or merely pour salt in them? "What happened, Mom? Why didn't you tell us?" "I wanted to protect you," she murmured, her eyes trembling with memories both bittersweet and painful. "Your father loved us all, but he was entangled in a world he couldn't escape. I buried my hurt to keep this family together." "I don't understand," Caleb said, incredulity and anger mixing. "Was everything just a lie?" "No, sweethearts," their mother replied gently. Sometimes the past is too painful to revisit. You didn't see the man I fell in love with. You only saw the shadows. As they stood there, a flood of clarity washed over them. This was the moment they had longed for, the moment that would reshape their futures. They yearned to untangle the pain, and together, they could do just that. Maybe it's time to let the sunlight in, Sarah said, wiping her tears, determination hardening her resolve. Let us help you heal, together. Tears streamed down their mother's cheeks as she took a step forward, enveloping them both in a warm embrace. In that moment, the heaviness of the past felt lighter, transformed by acceptance and love. They were ready to confront the shadows together, to build anew on the ruins of old grief. Tomorrow would hold the stories of their family, the lessons learned, and an unbreakable bond forged in truth. Today marked the beginning of their journey toward healing. As they pulled from the embrace, they shared a new understanding that love as tangled as it was could be the anchor they needed. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead, stronger than before. The shadows might linger, but with the warmth of hope surrounding them, Sarah felt an inspiring sense of new beginnings on the horizon. And deep down, she knew their family could emerge from the darkness beautifully and whole. Now, dear friends, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that are waiting just for you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm because it truly makes a difference. I want to hear your thoughts and feelings about this emotional transformation. Comment below. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this heartwarming journey. Let's spread hope and healing together.